What's going on, boys? Thanks to our patrons and Fiverr customers, subscribe to our Patreon free for behind the scenes stuff, arm yourselves, life stuff. It seems like I caught whatever has been going around. Seems like a lot of people have gotten sick with whatever this bullshit is. It's not COVID, it's not the flu, I don't know what it is. It sounds like it takes 3 weeks for people to get over it typically. Now, I got over it in about 10 days because I don't take medicine and I smoke a lot. So my immune system is both powerful and aesthetic enough to deal with whatever the world throws at it. But it managed to screw up my recording schedule anyway. But that hasn't been a terrible thing because it's given me about 2 weeks to sit and think about things without immediately talking about them. At least in video form. We kept up with the free member Patreon posts the entire time. So, what did sitting with my own thoughts for 2 weeks help me realize? One, I don't just hate Europeans, I really hate Europeans. And two, what I want from life is not as complicated as I thought it was. When you boil it all the way down, all I want from life is to be relevant and to enjoy a bit of relevance. The goal is to be someone who's in an anime intro for 3 seconds, and to be recognized and respected within the circles I want to be recognized and respected within. In other words, some people know who I am and treat me like they know who I am. All of which makes it easier to do the things you want to do or to get the things you want to get, but it mainly comes down to that recognition. My reputation is important to me. Whether that's positive, people view you as like a hero unit for whatever their side is, or as something bad, as a problem that needs to be dealt with. Having a Fredo Corleone type reputation, it is a reputation, but it's a reputation for uselessness, or total irrelevance, nobody knows who you are, bothers me. And that bothers me because it's probably the way things are going to turn out, are turning out. Age is another component of this. I think it's natural for dudes to fantasize about the tough guy life or the tough guy reputation. But you know the feeling you're reaching an age, you look at the guys you've always looked at as the tough guys, the bona fide men, and realize they're younger than you are. You aren't a tough guy, you aren't a warrior, you weren't one, you aren't one now, and where you are now is rapidly passing the window within which you could even try to build that kind of reputation, and you aren't going to do it. Seeing other people achieve things who are younger than you are and more capable than you are, and realizing your time is finite, and the more time passes, the less able you'll be, it's freaky. And maybe it shouldn't be freaky, because you never really intended to spec into the tough guy reputation, but it's still freaky watching that door closing. You probably weren't, or you definitely weren't, going to walk through it, but now you can't. And, what is it, Patrice O'Neill? Big difference between not fucking and can't fucking. It makes you rush to double check your life math. Old dudes can be cool. There are respected, highly esteemed old dudes. But do you know what separates a cool old dude or an esteemed old dude from a formerly cool or esteemed old dude or just an annoying old dude? The ones who stay in have shit going for them. They're wise. They can tell younger dudes what to do to get what they want faster. They have a non-violent or non-physically taxing skill set or trade they can continue to ply until they're dead. They've pulled a Don Vito and done that Arctic thing, hiding cards around places, so they have enough of them to pull them to get things done other people can't get done because they haven't lived long enough or planned well enough to have stashed those cards. Or even just money, basic money. Now it's interesting because it seems like money's integral to inness, but money feels more like a level counter than its own thing. In other words, if you're an old dude and you have a thing going that earns you a lot of money, then you're very in. If you're an old dude and all you have is a lot of money, you're still in, but it's kind of lame, but it still keeps you relevant. Money is like lifeblood. And all this stuff freaks me out when I think about it, because to reach these heights in old age requires careful theory crafting, or not even theory crafting, careful build management. And I think it stresses me out so much because I am actively doing this. I'm trying to make a build. I'm not the guy who's 37 swinging a hammer. If you're at that point, you don't even need to worry about it. Few years, you'll have your midlife crisis, and then you can die. It's freaky needing to think about it and recognizing you are not specking into one of these archetypes, let's say. Right now, thinking back to League of Legends, we're doing old brand support. That can work, but if you screw up in any way, it's disastrous. I'm close to 30 and I have almost no savings. Now, we are getting better. We're close to the point we can cover a $4,000 emergency, thank God. But you know your family compares you to people? There's a girl 3 years younger than me I get compared to regularly who owns property, owns a home, has good savings and investments, I hear, though I'm not entirely sure what they are, has some fucking Flavian European trophy boyfriend, or maybe calling him European is a little too insulting, white t-shirt guy. She travels, she does this, she does that, not mentioning the fact she got all her money working for her family's company. It's it's always been irritating watching other people succeed in traditional avenues when you don't. And now, increasingly, possibly, probably can't. Aura is a good word. Patrice used to call it stilo. You don't need money to develop aura, but with aura is supposed to come money at some point. That isn't happening yet. At least not to the level you want it. And it feels like you're living one of these archetypes that has not been totally established yet. And that's where this stress and confusion come from. It feels like in 50 years you could advise someone who wants to write a character around the archetype you're living and helping establish right now. But because you're here right now, your soul level gains are limited, or they're niche. Maybe it's like a cowboy situation. Everyone wants to be a cowboy except original cowboys. But the way we're talking about it, we're framing it as if this lifestyle will be celebrated later. The panic comes from the question, will it? You put on some additional years and compare where you've been, or where you haven't been rather, with where you are probably going to go based on what you have and what you're probably going to have going forward, and you start getting a little concerned. I've never gone or done or seen the things people seem to think you're supposed to go and do and see. I've never really traveled, even within my own country. I don't have my bro, my lifelong heterosexual life partner best friend thing. That one's actually a little funny looking back. It it seriously bothered me when I was younger how many people I thought I was close with did not invite me to their weddings. And it hurt a little bit because I thought we were close in each of these situations and I wanted to be there to support them. And then, in those instances, later finding out, no, we weren't actually that close. Okay, that makes a lot more sense. But it fucks with your idea of what closeness is supposed to be. And if in none of those younger instances, you were not actually that close with the people you thought you were closest with, then why would you try to get close to people if the peak of closeness was not actually that close? I never had that whirlwind romance. I've had a number of relationships, but almost all of those were online. One was in person, and the wind was trying to whirl there, but I pumped the fucking brakes because that was expensive, and I could smell it even then. That situation was not going to end well. And at this point, aside from once every 4 to 6 months when you wake up with that choking loneliness, I'm fine. But you still think about the fact you either you haven't had what people say you're supposed to have, or you didn't have it the way you're supposed to have it. And what are you going to do, or how are you going to feel when you turn 40? Are you suddenly going to find love when your ball hairs are going gray? And if you do, with whom? What you're doing is the equivalent of someone who forfeits just about everything else in life for their career, except the lifestyle or archetype you're devoting yourself to building does not give you the financial security of devoting yourself to a career. In fact, it might turn out to be nothing at all in the end, and it might not really have been a choice. Or you might tell yourself this is a choice you're making to make yourself feel better about things you have no control over, which is something we are endlessly critical of, except for when it hits so close to home you don't even register it as hypocrisy. Because thinking about all these things you're quotes missing out on, big quotes, when you're listening to your gut, there's nowhere to go, there's nothing to see, and there's nothing to do. I have had one within the nation, this is something you're supposed to see moment, and it did nothing for me. The most that sticks out to me about that memory is that was underwhelming, and this shit is expensive. Friends. What is a friend other than disappointment on layaway? You do for them more than they do for you, if they do for you, and then at some crisis moment, they either aren't there for you, or they kick you while you're down. Or they ask you for help and then throw you down and kick you, so you're getting kicked instead of them. So, what is a lifelong best friend? A disappointment mortgage? And then romance. With friends, you're getting screwed. With relationships, you're getting parasitized. Even with the closest friends, there is an externality there. With romance, with love, you're bringing this thing inside you and letting it fuck up your everything, right? Because with friends, you might get your feelings hurt, you might lose some money, this or that, but with love, a partner can fuck up your entire trajectory. When was the last time one of your romantic partners helped you aim your trajectory higher? Reach higher than you could have without her, or without him? It's like that Princess Bride scene. All they do is they make you look somewhere else and then switch the poisoned shit around. Except you, stupid, haven't built up any tolerance for that bullshittery. Or going back to another League of Legends example. Before your... Oh, Jesus Christ, what are they? The ranked placements? They had a stupid word for them. Promotionals? Which is the one... Well, I think promotionals is the one when you go up a rank, and then there's another word for the one in which they decide where you start. Before you go into those, she goes in and fucks up all your settings. You thought you were getting to know a potential business partner for life, and she fucks up your entire business, or he fucks up your entire business. And then with sexuality, because your sexuality is more mental, you're rolling the dice with bad odds. You're going to nut better than you could just looking at porn. Are you willing to risk your entire life business, which you're already concerned about the integrity of? Are you willing to risk all of it for the chance you might come a little bit better? But wrapping up all of this to say, how are you going to feel when your opportunity to live the way you were supposed to live has passed you? Originally, I was going to call this video The Goal, and that's probably still what we're going to call it, but the idea was to go in and talk about the ways to reach the goal we want to reach, which is what we started talking about. But going through all this, we're realizing there's no real way to get where you want to get. At this point, with this time and effort, you're either getting there or you aren't getting there. The issue is you're going somewhere people don't normally go, so you don't know if you're getting where you want to go because you don't know if where you want to go exists. I think we'll cut it here because I'm getting a little tuckered out, getting a bit of that hamster breath. Let's hope we invested correctly. Like if you enjoyed, subscribe if you haven't.